Welcome in, Seahawks fans, to another live post-game show of the Hawk's Eye podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Coots, and it feels a heck of a lot better to be celebrating the Seahawks victory this week compared to what we had to do last week after that week 1 game. So, as you guys know, we'll get into everything tonight. We'll talk about how this offense finally got itself on track, how this defense is definitely becoming a very, very suffocating unit for offenses of the opposing. I lost myself. Sorry about that. Little glitch on the system there. Going into halftime there, it was definitely something to kind of be concerned about. So we'll get into all of that, guys, right after this. Well, let's discuss it, everyone. 31-17 Seahawks win. And as I said in our 3 keys to victory, and a big thing for me in that was this team can't start 0-2. 0-2 is almost a death sentence now, the way the NFL has got the playoff structure going with the extra team, the extra wild card round. It just being 0-2 is less than a 9% chance of making the playoffs. And I said, when we talk about, when we look back at those 3 keys to victory, it was win the edge war. I would say that's a check. It was find balance in this offense, get the boot, the play action game going, establish some sort of a running game. I think we can well say that was checked off on this. And then on top of that was get your tight ends involved. And we saw AJ Barner today with, a couple key catches and a touchdown. We saw Elijah Arroyo a part of that offense. And when you started to see these pieces all being utilized within this offense, we started to see what this offense can be. And that's why I called it a fast start in the Steel City. That is the first time Seattle has gone down the field on an opening drive and scored a touchdown since 2023. That's huge. That's something I talked about in the San Francisco game. If we wanted to win that, we needed to do that. We didn't really get that opportunity and get that taken care of. But in this game, we did. We went right down the field. And you can see when Clint Kubiak and this offense are on time and they're in structure, you can see what this offense can look like. And looks like a pretty efficient offense. I'm not going to say this offense is explosive. Yes, we had some explosive plays. It's effective. It's efficient. I like those words because that means we're moving the ball. We're staying on schedule. And we're keeping the other team's offense on the bench, which, given our defense, I'm not always too concerned about in that situation. But, man, our defense today was in their bag. Mike McDonald and them looked good. Yes, there were a couple plays that got away from us that, Warren scamper down the field there where it looked like kind of Tyrese Knight lost coverage a bit and we just had some poor tackling. But, hey, Byron Murphy, 1.5 sacks today, was a presence pushing that pocket inside the middle. We got after Aaron Rodgers. 9 hits, 3 sacks. That's going to rattle Aaron Rodgers. He wasn't as comfortable back there, even off of his play action. So that was the fast start we needed to see, especially going into a hostile environment like Pittsburgh. Those are, things that give me hope that, that when this team is playing as a unit, as a team, they're going to be a tough out for most to get done. So, we'll let's see what we got here already starting in the chat so I can get you guys involved in this as early as possible. What do we got kind of coming in here right off the bat? I like it. Starting to look like Sam Darnold might be the reason they went 14-3. Just thinking. Yeah, I would say Sam at the beginning, the 2 interceptions by Sam today, the first one I fault him a little bit more. That was either a miscommunication on him and Kupp on where he expected Kupp to be, because Kupp didn't break out as hard on that out route as a quarterback throwing that ball. So I wonder if Kupp saw something and Sam saw something else. And again, you can't make that mistake against Jalen Ramsey. The 4th and 1, Sam's got to dirt that ball and not try and force it when he's got 3 guys in front of him into the flat. Like, that's just throw it in the dirt. Yeah, the play didn't work. I don't still understand that play call there. Like, you were running the ball well. You've got, Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet running, some sort, gap a lot today. It was a gap pull scheme a lot today, it seemed like, in gap runs. And it just, that 4th and 1 call made no sense on, okay, now we're going to play action it. Like, you again set the tone, run the ball. Let Robbie Oots not have to go and chip and chop a guy. Let him just go bulldoze into a guy, because we saw what happens when Robbie Oots finds linebackers at full speed. He can knock 2 of them into each other and completely flatten both of them, which sprung Walker there in the 4th quarter of the game. That's what they need to do. I think their 4th and 1 decision-making still is a little suspect to me. It's still not completely sound. So if you're not comfortable with it, then, be more comfortable with kicking a field goal at that point. Like that's kind of how I'm looking at it now. Like, this is 2 weeks in a row we've seen 4th and 1 calls where just, okay, you decide to kick, and then now you went with, okay, we're going to run a play action pass. Like, run the damn football. You've been doing it well. The Pittsburgh Steelers haven't been stopping you. Run the damn ball and see what happens. Like, commit to your identity in that front. But outside of that, it's 2 touchdown passes, one to Torrey Horton, the other one to A.J. Barner. Really good decision-making. One came off play action. What do you know? You run the football, you run play action. There's huge plays in behind a team when linebackers have to respect the run game. Cooper Kupp made a day of it today running those deep in breakers, which is something I talked about on our film lab. Me and Dan Viens' Hawks film lab, we talked about the passing game going into this game. I said, if you can get the balance in the play action, you can throw those in breakers right off the back of linebackers. And there's huge holes there. What did Cooper Kupp do today? He ate them alive in the middle of the field, as did JSN. Another huge day for him. And I'm saying it now, he has established himself as a true number 1 receiver. It doesn't matter if you line him up inside, outside. He beats Jalen Ramsey on the post. So much for this. Oh, he doesn't have burner speed. Clearly doesn't need it. He runs such smooth routes. He doesn't need it. So I don't want to hear this discussion about JSN's speed, and he's a true number 1 receiver. He is. It's just a fact. So Sam, on the Sam front there, I definitely agree. Sam Darnold probably has more to do with those 14 wins in some respect, but still some stuff I need to kind of, get off my chest with other things. Big Mike comes in here with badly needed win. Yep, 100% totally needed that win. That can set you up for a nice run here. What else do we got? I see a lot of you guys talking about the Vikings game right now. Yeah, Will Fries is looking like he's struggling a little bit in there. So, but let's kind of pivot this a little bit to this offense being unleashed today. I think that's a pretty big deal in a lot of respects. Our offense kind of finally got its feet. It got going. And one of those things that I'll talk about here is Sam Darnold, almost 300 yards, 22 of 33. That means only 10, and 2 of those are interceptions. So really 8 errant passes. And I'll say 2 of those were throwaways where play was busted. He fired the ball away. So again, Sam you take those interceptions away and those 2 poor decisions. Again, played a really solid game of football, which is awesome. Ken Walker, 13 carries, 105 yards, 1 touchdown. His first 100-yard performance since obviously the Denver week 1 opener last year. And JSN, another 8 catches for over 100 yards. That's what you want to kind of see there, numbers-wise, out of 3 of your main key pieces. If we go and look, at the rest of the stats for Seahawks today, where did my stats go here? There we go, box score. So, you got Ken Walker, 13, 105. Again, Charbonnet did out-touch Walker in the running game. He had 15 carries for 10 yards. And what I'll say about this, because I know there's going to be a huge conversation, look at Zach Charbonnet week 1, look at Ken Walker week 2, like just such a huge discrepancy. And, K9 needs to be the guy, because we're kind of, as a Seahawk community right now, we're kind of going back and forth on who needs to tote the rock. What this tells me, and what I saw in the film already, and I'll have to dive into it with the All-22, and I think me and Dan Viens will be doing that this week on Hawks Film Lab, is really diving into this run game and why it works so well. They went to a lot more downhill inside. You can call it inside zone. It was inside zone gap they ran a lot of today. There wasn't a lot of outside. There were a couple tosses and stuff like that, but there wasn't a lot of wide zone. Playing against this 3-4, that can sometimes be a hard thing to get to, is the wide zone. Now you see the difference when K9's just going straight ahead. And that's where I think you see with Zach Charbonnet his struggles. Zach Charbonnet is really good at picking the backside cut lanes, letting that play extend and kind of seeing where his hole is and then hitting it and going when, everyone's kind of going laterally. Charbonnet going downhill, he just doesn't have the burst. He doesn't have the same quick twitch that you see from K9. And so it may become a situation with these backs this year where it truly is a, what does this defense that we're playing struggle? Is it a gap power, inside zone scheme that they're going to have problems with? Cool. It's going to be a K9 day. Or vice versa. Hey, we're playing a team that really struggles getting, laterally across the field and sideline to sideline. Then, hey, it's probably going to be a Zach day. My gosh, I am sorry, everyone. My internet connection is just horrible right now. I don't understand why. So I apologize for it cutting in and out. But to my point, I don't think you're going to see a situation where it'll be a clean, this guy's getting, 10 carries in this game. This guy's getting 13 carries. Like, it's been a little bit even, but I think it's going to be more of a matchup base to see which running back is going to be the guy that totes the rock the majority in games. And then you go and you look at, Cooper Kupp, 7 catches, 90 yards. Him and JSN averaged the same amount per catch at 12.9 yards, almost 13 yards a catch. That is phenomenal production from, Cooper Kupp, 7 targets or 7 catches, 90 yards. Like, it's kind of what you want receiver 2 to be in this. And then Torrey Horton added his 2 for 32 and a touchdown. Elijah Arroyo, 2 for 31. AJ Barner, 2 for 26. Kenneth Walker, 1 for 13. Now, there is one caveat I got about this offense, and most Seahawks fans will understand my frustration with this. We still cannot run a screen pass to our running backs productively, consistently. Like, the amount of screens today where Sam Darnold was like dirting the ball is just, it's like, we got to figure out how to run a running back screen properly. And there were times I even looked and, there was one play in particular, I think it was the Jack Sawyer sack. And it wasn't a screenplay, but we had AJ Barner, Robbie Oots, and Abe Lucas all go block TJ Watt and let Jack Sawyer just come right in untouched. Like, there's still some communicational things. I hope Jalen Sundell's okay, because I thought he actually was playing quite well today. He was having a very good day as as a center. So we'll have to see how that shapes up. I don't remember if he got back in the game. I didn't see him come back in the game, but lo and behold, the Seahawks offense shows some balance here, and that's what we needed to see. We needed ball movement. We needed efficiency. We got to see it. Yeah, apparently I've got gremlins. You know what? It's Steeler fans hacking into my Wi-Fi because they don't want to hear about how bad their Steelers team played today. That's what it is for. That's what I'm going with on this. That we can call them gremlins too. It works for me. I like this from Jen. Sneaky good player, Saubert. Yes. I thought Saubert was crucial in the run game today, Jen. It was awesome to see, them use him more on some of their, what I call split pulls, where he'll line up as the move tight end on one side and come across formation after the snap and kick out the backside end on a play. It was really good to see. We got Islam here going, Clinton needs to feed the hot hand. Last week kept force feeding K9 when Zach was getting yards, and today was the opposite. So infuriating. Yeah, it is infuriating, but like I said, it's going to be a matchup thing. I think it's going to be going in every week and looking at what the analytics tell them. Like, the thing I'll say about this staff is I truly believe, you look at Bill Belichick's teams with the Patriots when they were having their dynasties, they usually struggled week 1. A lot of the time they did. And they were mainly because their coaching staff was so analytical and understanding film and film watching staffs, right? They weren't an emotion riding team. And so I think with Pete, what we saw for a couple of years, especially in the early beginning of the season, Pete was able to get guys to rise up and to really do well in those first couple of weeks when you don't have all that film to go off of in the tendencies. Now you're starting to see with Mike McDonald, he's more of the opposite hand, where he is so tendency, game plan, film. You hear it in the way he talks about what they look at. And now you're starting to see the factor. Like, this game, they had a game set of game film now on what Pittsburgh likes to do. They were able to go, and I think it goes to Clint too in the offense. Like, you have a very veteran NFL staff on that offensive side that loves to look at film. Now you can see, hey, let's go run downhill at Pittsburgh. Let's not try and get outside on Watt and Highsmith. Let's control the edges by making them crash down and have to come in and make tackles in between the tackle box. They didn't really do a good job of it today. So those are some of the things, I think you can look at with this group. What else do we got in here? I like this from Fab here. Why can't they have Charbonnet and K9 both have a good run game in the same? Sometimes it'll just be matchup based. It'll be, another, really good thing on who's, to the hot hand point even. I don't know if it'll ever happen. It may. You may see it. Another week of the defense holding a team under 20 despite a depleted secondary. So refreshing. So let's kind of talk about this defense. And, the one thing I'm going to say is, again, we got an interception. We got some turns. Should have had two interceptions. I thought Reek had a good bounce back game. I thought he did play well. I will also say I thought the one thing is Josh Jobe might be corner 2 now, even when Spoon comes back. I don't know how you take Josh Jobe off the field as a starting corner. Like, even Richard Sherman is talking about Josh Jobe and how well Josh Jobe played. I don't know how you can take him off the field. He is playing phenomenal football right now. And you talk about riding a hot hand when it comes to running backs. Josh Jobe is probably your best corner right now. Like, Spoon, when he gets back and gets healthy, I think Spoon will be in that conversation. But right now, Josh Jobe is. And I thought Kendrick played well too. Like, now you can kind of see what they maybe saw when they were like, hey, they're putting this guy out waivers. Let's go claim him. That was a really good, head on a swivel interception. Even outside of that, played good coverage for most of the day. Those are some things I think, as a depleted secondary goes, I think the key thing for today was Julian Love staying healthy and on the field. Julian Love is such a good commander back there, get everyone into the right spots, making sure everyone's playing it properly. Him and Ernest Jones, like, to have two such crucial pieces there in those communicational spots on the defense is huge. And again, I thought the D-line, like, Byron Murphy, phenomenal game. Leonard Williams, I'm starting to question if the dude's even human. Like, he is just wrecking games. Like, that might go down maybe at this point as John Schneider's best trade is Leo at this point. Ernest Jones was flying around. The defense is, I think, is probably the best defense right now in football. Like, you to your point, under 20 points 2 weeks in a row. Like, can't go wrong with that. What else do we got in here in this chat? Now, I've got an honest question for all of you out there. How many of you were worried at halftime? How many of you sat there at halftime and went, oh no, this game could get away from us very quickly? Because there was an inside of me to a point where I went, oh, this is not what I wanted to see. Like, the offense looks disjointed still. Defense is playing well. We can't keep wasting these defensive stops. I was going, like, we need to get something. Like, we need to come out fast in the second half, get a stop, and score. Like, we can't just sit here and be like, okay, yeah, we'll trade these blows and not really get going until late in the fourth quarter. It was something for me, like, where I was sitting there going, this is not how I expected this first half to go. So the one thing I'll say too is, we want to talk about turning points and momentum shifts in this game. For me, obviously, I would say you got to look at the quick score after we get that initial, like, initial stop on that, Pittsburgh opening drive, to come back down the field and be in rhythm that quickly and just take those chunk plays and score was awesome. And then obviously the kickoff, well, I don't know what you want to call that. I think that might go down as one of the biggest. That type of play right there, ladies and gentlemen, goes on those old NFL films Folly episodes where they talk about all these blunders that happen. Like, that one, he's a rookie. I get it. Caleb Johnson is a rookie. He was one of my, guys that I was interested in for the Hawks to take as a running back prospect. But to have the lack of attention to detail as a kick return, to start walking off the field as the ball is sitting in your end zone and you haven't heard a whistle. And that goes to the old adage of you keep playing until you hear the whistle. You don't stop. And that's what George Trelawney did. No whistle? Okay, cool. I'm going to go get the ball. That to me was the biggest momentum shift in this game, was that, because after that, I don't think Pittsburgh could found a way to recover. Their offense started to sputter and it fell apart, and we were able to continue and then have what I've wanted to see in this team is have a sense of urgency to stomp out the opponent and just crush the windpipe, put them out of their misery, kill shot, whatever you want to call it, finish the game. And that's what they did on that toss. And that was a really good call. That was a sneaky good call by Clint Kubiak, that toss to K9, because of the fact you had a team that I think was expecting Seattle to run inside and take the field goal, to then toss it out of gun and let K9 get that edge, and to see Charles Cross and Gray Zabel and JSN all lead blocking down that sideline. Like, you had Gray Zabel down on a safety. Like, that's the ideal setup as an offensive coordinator, seeing your big, powerful left guard on a, less than 215-pound safety and just driving him out of the play. Like, that was something that we were accustomed to with Marshawn here and Beast Mode, is that's how we finish games. We are going to just batter you and finish the game. And that's what you saw from the Seahawks team. It was definitely something, that we've been wanting to see for a few years. So what else do we got in here? And this is one thing for me. We broke the steel curtain. Like, well, quote unquote, sorry, the steel curtain, because they always call their defenses the steel curtain there. But it's supposed to bend, and it was broken because we broke it today. Like, the efficiency of our offense, the ability to stifle their offense with our defense. And, it was just so refreshing as a Seahawk fan to watch a run game start to take over a game. We haven't seen that for a very long time. And after what we went through last year, and what we went through in week 1, to see that come out and see a quarterback play efficiently and an offensive line keep him pretty clean. Like, yes, there were 2 sacks and there were some pressures there, but I never once really felt like consistently Sam was running for his life today. And now you can see, like, we play this type of football, we have a chance to beat a lot of teams in the NFL. And we played this game last week. I think we beat the 49ers by at least 2 scores minimum. But that's the thing. We have to see if this team can now come back against New Orleans and do it again. This can't be this thing where we got this up and down thing throughout the entire year, like a Richter scale for earthquakes, where 1 week we're really high, 1 week we're low. Like, you got to find that consistency to just keep it that way. And you're going to have some bad weeks. It's going to happen. But they got to be in spots. They can't be a consistent thing where it's up, down, up, down, up, down all the way through. So let's talk about this win. What does it mean for Seattle? So obviously they open up as, I think it's 8.5-point favorites right now over New Orleans for next weekend. New Orleans looks kind of like they haven't looked great at all. That needs to be I'm going to put it out there right now. You need a similar score to this game, and that 17 needs to come late. Like, you need to be up and beating the crap out of New Orleans with the run game and the defense, and just go. Set the tone that, okay, week 1 was an anomaly. This is a Seahawk football team that everyone came to expect. This is a Seahawk football team you're going to see this year. Is a tough, physical, set the tone, dictate terms to the other team, and play that way consistently. Yeah, divisional games will be tough. I don't disagree. There's going to be losses in there where we're going to all shake our heads and go, what the heck just happened, like it did in week 1. But if you get this type of consistent effort, Sam Darnold playing pretty good football generally, take away the 2 turnovers that were blunders for sure. You run the ball effectively. You get your offensive weapons throughout involved. Pretty good football team. Pretty good football team, I'd say. Okay, let's get into some of these. These are, you guys in the comments are awesome right now. So let's get into our 12s Q&A blitz. Let's go up here with, I just pulled one up here. I think I missed it. There we go. Johnny comes in. We ruined Aaron Rodgers' Steelers home opener. Yeah, we did. And I am not apologizing for that at all. I love seeing it when Aaron Rodgers gets all mopey on the sidelines. It's great. And you got to see it. Oh, Jen, this is a good one. Yeah, Lucas did have some problems today. And, I know some people are going to look and be like, well, why did we pay him all this money and he struggled the first 2 weeks? Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I get it. I'll say this, though. He's had to play against 2 of the more elite pass rushers in the NFL, in TJ Watt and Nick Bosa, right out of the gate. Right out of the gate, and it's not an easy task. I'll give Abe Lucas – I want to see what Abe Lucas looks like after the Cardinals game. If he's having troubles with the Saints and the Cardinals and we're still seeing that pressure there, Jen, I will jump in that boat with you and go, okay, this is concerning now that the guy that we paid all this money to is struggling this much. I'll give him a little bit of a break considering he is going against two of the premier pass rushers, but it is a good observation. I definitely, it's something to keep an eye on. Oh, there's one of our moderators here, Amy Holmes. Lucas has had a rough start to the year. Bosa then Watt should be easier for a while now. Yeah, exactly, Amy. I totally agree with you. It should be easier now. I don't expect, Chase Young to give, if he was even playing, I think he's hurt actually for the Saints, to give, Abe Lucas the same problem. But I'll say to his counterpart on the left, Charles Cross is definitely playing like an elite left tackle right now. Charles Cross is playing phenomenal football. Him and Gray Zabel look like a perfect match at left guard and left tackle. And it makes me wonder, to the point of last year where we all had kind of concerns about, some of us had concerns about Charles Cross, how much of it was the fact of just Lincoln Tomlinson was that bad as a guard. And we knew that, but like he was that bad where it's now affecting your left tackle that much. It shows you what happens when you get, competent guard play. Rodney's in here. It was good to see K9 have a good game. He really needed it. Yeah, I don't know if all of you saw, but after he scored his touchdown, he did his little end zone thing and came up. They kind of got a camera shot of him. You could almost see the relief, kind of like, how there's the old Steve Young video from like when they won the Super Bowl versus the Chargers in 94, and he turns around and he says, "Can someone get the monkey off my back?" That's what it felt like for K9 today. It was like he's heard so much about how he's not performing and how he's always injury prone and how he's this and how he's that. I feel like this was K9's get the monkey off his back game. Like he truly felt some relief now. Like, I can still do this. I'm still good enough to be this elite level NFL running back and show people what I can do. Again, consistency is a factor in that. But it was so refreshing to see that for K9. I felt so happy for him because I've been one of his harshest critics. I'll put my hand up and say I've been one of his harshest critics for sure. I said after the last week's show that, maybe you need to steer more to Charbonnet. Seeing Ken Walker do this today gives me a little put of pause in that statement and going, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to roll back a little bit, look at where the scheme's at, what they're asking of it, and look at it like I said about the rotation early in this previously is like, hey, there are going to be some weeks where it's going to be Charbonnet's game because of how teams play defensively. And then there's going to be weeks like this for K9. And that's something I think we have to look at when we look at K9. But I was so happy to see him have that game, Rodney. It was awesome. Yes, Fab. Yes, he did. He completely obliterated that safety. It was awesome. Okay, so that's a positive, John, that it was, he had cramps. Okay, so that's good to know. I hadn't seen that yet or heard that yet. So, that's definitely something that I think, is a good thing because I thought Sundell had a really good game today up until that. Jen, I'm really looking forward to seeing Riley Mills get on the field. Yeah, no, I am too. I'll say this. Mike Morris actually made a couple really good run stops today. That I thought, and can we all just hold for a second here? Derek Hall and Boy Mafe are playing unreal football on the edge right now the first 2 weeks. Now we got to see it last the whole season because that's always been the caveat there. But Derek Hall especially, that one holding call that he basically, got them to commit on that. I think it was the first drive out of the second half. And Pittsburgh was like 3rd and 2, and he came flying in on Fatanu, and basically Fatanu had to hold on for dear life or he was going to kill Aaron Rodgers. And they got the holding, and then we punted. They punted. We went back down the field and scored and tied the game up. But Derek Hall is playing like a man possessed. And now you're seeing Byron Murphy start to affect the inside with Leo, and you got Boye and you got Derek. Like, you're starting to get a nice rotation in there. It's looking really, really good. What else do we got? Oh, and I see Jason James in here. How about Robbie Utes make the block? Yeah, like, I'll say this on the 1-4 down call. I think it was a weird position to put Robbie Utes in to have him cut somebody when he's a big dude. Like, let him just go hit somebody. Now, on the vice versa, we got to see that on that one gap run, Jason, where he obliterated the first linebacker and then took that linebacker and put him into Patrick Queen. And you saw K9 scoot down the sideline there for a good, huge run play. That's what Robbie Utes is right now. Like, let Robbie Utes go hit people. And I agree. Like, you got to make the block. And I think in that position, he'd probably look back at that film and go, yeah, I probably should have just, not cut and just tried to stay up. But I also don't like 4th and 1 calling a play action pass there in that situation. Like, let Robbie Utes go be your big fullback and go punish somebody when you've been running the ball pretty well at that point. Yes, Rodney, he did. Cooper Kupp had himself a good game today. He really, him and JSN, as you're seeing with these condensed splits and the fact you can move these two around and you run the play action, these two can work well off of the play action. Cooper Kupp killed it in the middle of the field today. Like, if I'm sitting there as Mike Tomlin going through film and I'm going clip after clip going play action and there's Cooper Kupp, play action and there's Cooper Kupp again. Like, a good savvy veteran receiver like Cooper Kupp is going to find your exposed spot in the play action game in the middle of the field. He did it all day for good chunk plays. Here's Alpha. We need to get Murphy at 3 tech more. I was so sad last year when he only used him at nose, completely out of position. Our D-line and our D has could benefit greatly from that. Also get Philly. Yes. Peely did well today. I will give you that. Peely did really well, and I think he deserves to be on the 53. I think Peely coming on helps what you're talking about here with getting Byron Murphy into the 3 tech, because on his 1 sack, they had Leo at edge or end. They had Byron at kind of a 3 tech. He was in the B gap. You had Boy Mafe down as like almost like a wide 9, and then you had Derek Hall. And it was an effective it was also basically like a NASCAR package like we used to see with the LOB. And that's where you can start affecting teams, is when you have that alignment of Murphy and Leo on one side, you got Hall and Mafe, and just go after the quarterback. And Byron Murphy has shown he can, in that 3 tech spot, he can create havoc for on guards. Bill Anderson, how did Nwosu do? You could see him knocking off the rust, is what I'll say. He was good in some of his run fits. I think as he plays more, Bill, he'll start to get more comfortable in some of the stuff. Because the one thing I'll say for Chenna in this is, because of how his injuries have been over the last last year especially in Mike McDonald's defense, kind of got these glimpses of what it was like to play in it. He never really got to be in the defense and actually move around. And studying it in film and seeing it like on, what we're trying to do and on paper and in their playbooks and whatnot is one thing. To actually rep, it's another. And so I think the more reps Chenna gets, the more you'll start to see Chenna become the player he was prior to his injuries. Sean's in here. He goes, Reed was doing well. Also, yeah, Jaron Reed had another good game. That was a key guy in the run for sure. Amy comes in. How did Peely do? He was good. He was really sound in the run game. And I think you saw that the Steelers eventually in the second half, they're kind of, Amy had to bounce more of their runs and start trying to find, cutbacks or just even go outside, because they couldn't run right down the middle, because Peely was doing a great job of basically committing 2 linemen to him in a lot of the ways he was fighting across. So it was really good. Yeah. Tank did get, a good chunk of pressures today too. Oh, what was Alpha saying here? The Steelers knew the play. Herbert and Hayward both passed. Yeah. If Oots hit Hayward, yeah, agreed. It is hypothetical. I'm going to dive into it in the All 22 this week and kind of see what happened. And again, it may have been a thing where it was a cue. They knew, kind of like the 49ers knew. And maybe there are plays like that, right? They line up a certain way. They do a certain thing. But again, I'm just going to go back to the point with this of run the ball. Like, run the ball. At least you've got a better shot than play actioning. You've got 3 guys there. It didn't look like a good concept again. Like, you're also booting Sam to his left and asking him to flip hips, rather than, if you're going to do that play action, get it to his front side where he can just fire that ball quicker. Like, he doesn't have to get everything around to make that throw. Hey, Jason. Yeah, exactly, Jason. To my point, it seemed like limited options there. Like, you didn't really give Sam a lot. What do we got here? Oh, WD Ford. Appreciate the donation, man. Do you have any sense of the offense tipping plays? A little bit. So when I had Coach DC from All 22 Films on, there are a couple things. Like, some of the shifts this offense is doing, because, again, they didn't show a lot in the preseason with the motion. teams are now kind of queuing on some of it. Like when you see Oots be in the I formation and he shifts out to the right, I've seen teams kind of queue into, okay, it's a toss or it's a wide zone play, and their linebackers just go. And we saw Fred Warner do that. And, to a point in some of the other stuff that they've done, when they have a tight end and they have Oots, and sometimes they run left side to play action a little bit, kind of like what we saw last year. There's things like that, which, again, as an offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak's probably sitting there and he's got Jake Peets and he's got, the rest of his group, Rick Dennison is the run game coordinator going, okay, why are these teams almost knowing what we're doing before we do it? And that's when you can start saying, okay, hey, when we're motioning and doing this motion, these are the limited play options you've called so far. So teams are knowing this is what's coming. And sometimes it's hard to do that in game and get that switch to figure out, okay, hey, they're queuing on this. But when you go back and watch the film, like when they watch it on the plane back tonight, or when they watch it, tomorrow morning when they get into the building, those are things, and Kubiak's going to have to look at it and go, okay, hey, when we, if we're shifting Robbie to the right side and these are the runs I've called for, we need to call a counter now. So that way teams can't fly over there, because if they do, we're going to counter back underneath. And that's some of the stuff. A lot of what tips a defense to what the offense is doing is shift motion and not having a bunch of things off of a certain motion type, and you kind of limit yourself. So that's something that they'll definitely have to look at. But that's a really good question and good point from you, Ford. John, I think the offense will get better throughout the year. Totally agree. And I think you're seeing it. Week 1 to week 2, much better offensive performance. So for Darnold today, again, 22 of 33, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The interception to Kupp, I think that's Darnold needing to understand who he's targeting, where it is on the field, who's the receiver that's doing it. And, you can't throw that way. Like, that ball was kind of underthrown, in my opinion, with the velocity wasn't there. What I'll say, though, what I liked about what I saw from Sam today was I saw Sam not speed things up too much. Like, outside of this and the other interception on the 4th and 1, the rest of the game, Sam really did a good job of, getting out of trouble, throwing the ball away when he didn't see anything. And then outside of that, he got through progressions not faster, but more efficiently. So, like last week in week 1, he was really quick to just get rid of the ball, get rid of the ball, get rid of the ball. This week, because you had the play action built in, even on some of his dropbacks, Sam was able to go 1, 2, 3. Okay, here's option 3. Because there was somewhere he hit Cooper Kupp, he hit Barner, he hit some of these other guys and JSM, but he was getting through his reads. And that's what I like to see, is you saw a little bit more of a in-flow quarterback, as I like to say, is he was in the flow of the game more, where I felt last week he was trying to force himself into the flow of the game by getting the quick passes out quickly. He let the game more come to him this game. And I still think the other thing was the under center. You got him back where he's an effective passer. He likes dropping from under center. Get him in those situations. So that's my thoughts on Sam. I'll give you something probably a little bit later this week. I'll have a couple more takes on how Sam did overall. But I think for the first 2 weeks, Sam Darnold has played good, relatively mistake-free football. And you can see when he does that the Seahawks are an effective football team. Jason, this is a really good point, and I agree. And Mike Tomlin is a very good blitzing, defensive mind. He comes up with some pretty good blitz schemes to bring. And again, I think it's that offensive line getting used to each other. They're still figuring out some of the things, but overall, again, I would say the first 2 weeks, this has been pretty good for us Seahawk fans to see our quarterback not be running for his life every time he drops back to throw. And, that one play, I'll give Sam credit to your point earlier, Johnny, about, that I just talked about. Sam spinning out on that one and finding A.J. Barner on that 3rd down to extend the drive where K9 scored his rushing touchdown. That was really good. And that's something I don't think a lot of people talk about enough with Sam Darnold, is his fleet of foot in those situations in the pocket. Yeah, he ain't going to go for 30 yards down the sideline, but he can get himself out of a sack here and there and still create a positive play out of it. That is a very good attribute to have as a quarterback. Oh, my buddy Curtis Allen's in the chat. Love to see it, Curtis. And if you guys haven't already, go check out my episode with Curtis. Dropped a couple days ago. We did a great conversation on kind of the cap to an extent, and then also got Curtis's feelings on where this team's at and how they were going to do coming into the Steeler game. And to a point, Curtis, some of the stuff you mentioned in that show was spot on. They ran the play that Fred Warner was ahead of last week and went a different way and caught the Steelers out of possession. It is a chess game, 100%. And that's to the point. They realized that, and they went back the other way with it. And that's what you kind of are doing now is you have to play this cat and mouse game where this team is going to expect one thing, you're showing it, and you come back. But then there's some other things I think in the game that they still have to your point there, Curtis, it's a chess game. They're going to have to come up with some answers for those counter moves on some of their stuff because they're still giving some of it away. Oh, Carmen's in here with a Go Hawks, 100%. Feed me more. Tyrese Knight looks back to normal. I'm not 100% there with you yet on that one. I thought he played better today, but then you see that Warren catch, and he just looked completely out of position. I still think he's trying to get his legs back underneath him from missing so much time in the preseason, but definitely a positive step forward, I'll say, from the 49ers game. Oh, there's the main man. Mookie Alexander gets in the chat. Will we get rid of Jay Harbaugh's case for an afternoon? Will we get off Jay Harbaugh's case for an afternoon? Myers missed aside. That was a great special teams. Yes, I am off his case for now, Mookie. I'll sit with you on that island over there. I thought the first 2 weeks of special teams have actually looked quite good. Myers missing a field goal attempt there, I should say. And if Mookie, to an extent, we saw at a training camp, he had an issue pulling him across whatever reason. He had a thing for hitting that left upright that one day that we were out on the berm there, and it was kind of concerning. We both talked about it. Yeah, I think the special teams look much more competent now than what we saw in, where we were all freaking out about it. But yeah, Mookie, I'll jump on that, with you as well. Tasha in here might be a little behind, but both the Arizona and the 49ers show the Saints. Does that worry you at all? No, because I think the Cardinals, we know as a franchise, are kind of this up and down roller coaster of lack of consistency. And I don't think their offense really fits their quarterback in some respects in Kyler Murray. And their defense doesn't really have, they got Will Johnson, Walter Nolan's not back yet. So I don't know if their defense is fully intact enough to be a worrisome force. And the 49ers lost practically everybody after playing us. Purdy's out, Kittle's out. CMC is still not 100%, I don't think. I'm not as worried because I feel like we're the healthier team. If we get Spoon back next week, yes, I know Nicky Memori's still out, but you get Spoon back. The offense has some confidence now in what it's doing. Defense is playing well. I'm a little bit more confident going into the Saints game, even though 49ers and Arizona have definitely struggled. Jen comes in, Knight made one bad play, then he made it right and was dialed in. No, I agree. I thought, again, I'm not saying that Tyrese Knight didn't have a good game. I just think Tyrese Knight's still not 100% back to being the player that we saw last year. And I think that may happen next week. He may get fully back underneath himself and, have his legs and be good to go. That one blunder, that's something that Tyrese Knight shouldn't be giving up. That's kind of my opinion on it. So I agree. I thought he did play well after that. I just think, he's still not back to where I expect Tyrese Knight to be. And I have high standards for Tyrese Knight because he played so well last year after coming in after week 8 that seeing him at the start of this year was, struggling as much. I chalk it up to you missed most of training camp. Now you're getting your legs back under you. So you're going to make bad plays here and there, but, some of them just can't be that bad. What else do we got? Do a couple more minutes, guys. Oh, we got, I think it's Arizona Hawker here. He goes, it's good to see the DB depth we have is pretty solid. Witherspoon out, Eamon Wari out, no problem. Shout out to Josh Jobe and D-Bell. Yeah, that's another guy that played, I thought, really well today was D'Anthony Bell coming in. And, to the point I think most Seahawks fans can understand now is you see Ty Okada playing in that role last week is not where his strength is. And I know there's some people out there that really can't stand Ty Okada. Ty Okada to me is more of a deep field safety. He's not an in the box. He's not someone that's going to do a great job covering, in those situations like what the 49ers were able to exploit him in. However, to be something where I look at it and I go, okay, now DeAnthony Bell, you bring him in and he fits that role better. And you saw what he was able to do. Freiermuth wasn't really a main factor for a lot of the game, and they love their tight ends in Pittsburgh. And he's better in run support in a lot of ways. So I think that really did play a factor last week. And I think you'll see DeAnthony Bell until Nick Manor is back. Probably DeAnthony Bell is going to get either activated fully to the 53, or he's going to be, a guy that they elevate the next couple weeks here. So Jason's in here. Thanks for the late show. Early games often mean there's not enough content later on in the day to keep my buzz going. Yeah, guys. So for me, the reason this show's on later, just to give you guys an idea, I generally coach football roughly around the time sometimes the Hawks play. I'm coaching my own team, so I'm not able to do the content right after the game. So most of my content will come late nights like this, or like when they do have the Thursday night Arizona game, we have practice. So if I am to do one, it'll be pretty late that night, or I might do one the Friday evening and get everyone in on that conversation the day after. So that's just why these shows tend to happen later on in the evening, and seems to be working. You guys, there's almost 1,400 of you watching right now, which I greatly appreciate. And if everyone's in here can hit the like, subscribe button to the channel, help me get over that 1,000 mark, it would be huge for me and huge for the show, just to get it out to more people and into the YouTube algorithm. So, I really, really appreciate all the support I've gotten from everybody here. It's been fantastic. That's a good question. We're struggling a bit right now. We lack some O-line depth, which makes it hard just to do some of the things we want to do, because so many guys are going both ways right now, playing O and D line. So bit of Iron Man football, I'd say, but I still have a pretty good outlook on our season. We've lost the last 2 games, but it hasn't been that we've been necessarily out of them. It's just been, we've kind of been bitten by the injury bug a little bit, and need, again, some consistency. We'll make some really good plays and then we will shoot ourselves in the foot. So it's just working through that process. And when you're dealing with kids that are, 17 and 18, getting them to actually buy in sometimes can be a challenge too, because they see things on TikTok or IG of, I want to catch the ball with one hand or something like that. And it's like, no, just catch the ball. Just catch the ball and everything will be fine. Eventually you'll get your highlight reel. So, yeah, but I love doing it. So for me, it's fun. I love to see the development of the kids and help them get to where they're going with their football dreams. So it's been really, really good. What was your favorite play on the game today? Ooh, that's a good one. I think my favorite play in today's game. Ooh, put me on the spot here, Fab. This is a good question because there's a couple I really liked. I think I've got to go with K9's run where Robbie Oots completely obliterated the 2 linebackers. Like, there's something to me, and even as a quarterback and an offensive coordinator, like, I love the run game. I love physicality. I love just going out and dictating terms to the other team on this is how it's going to be, and you're just going to have to deal with it. So watching Robbie Oots obliterate 2 linebackers and then K9 just bang, hit the seam and go, that was something for me where it just got my blood going. And I was like, yeah, this is how we play football in Seattle now. We are going to smash you in the mouth. You're the Pittsburgh Steelers and have a history of being this tough bully of a franchise. Well, we're going to go bully you now with our 270-pound fullback right down the 3-hole. And you just got to find a way to try and stop us. And they didn't. And that was probably my favorite play of the day. Yeah, Jason, is super fun. It's a lot of fun to coach, young kids in this sport. Sean, K9's touchdown, yeah. Oh, old school's in here. 12 is 1, 100%. I'll be honest. I really like, Pete obviously had always compete. I really like Mike McDonald's 12 is 1. That to me is an awesome slogan for this team because you're starting to see it come together. So, but you know what, guys? We've been on here for just about over an hour. And you know what? I appreciate everyone being in on the chat. It's been a lot of fun. But for that, I am going to wrap it up tonight. So obviously Seahawks win 31-17. It's been great having you guys on the chat and talking it up. And you know what? Maybe we'll keep this rolling next week against the Saints and dictate our terms to them and explain to them, what it's like to come into Lumen Field and hear you guys as the 12s rocking it at Lumen, and make sure that they aren't exactly leaving on happy terms next weekend on Sunday. So there will unfortunately be no Seahawks Aftermath tomorrow with Michael Thompson as I'm away on a work trip. But we will be back Wednesday with a couple episodes, and then we will have our live pregame show on the Friday night again. So if you guys want to tune into that, it'll be out, and I'll make sure if you like, subscribe, and click that notification button, you'll never miss an episode of the Hawk's Eye. So with all of that being said, everyone, have a good night and go Hawks.